Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan, and it's not Spawn year, it is day 48 of my comic review video day calendar, and today we're going to take a look at Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue 3. This is from the first volume of the Hamilton comics, and the rights went over to Marvel just after this, so there is a volume with just a few issues, I think like 6, and then there's a second volume with just a few issues, and then it goes over to Marvel, and some bigger, more recognizable writers end up working on it over there, like Fabian Nietzsche and Scott Lobdell. And I haven't read a lot of this myself. It's super campy, real throwaway stuff, most of it. But I'm curious to go back to some of it, and it's actually easier to get your hands on now because it's been reprinted by Boom with the Archives collection. There's 2 volumes of that, and they are thick trades. They're really cool looking paperbacks, and those are actually the scans that you're going to be seeing today. So this is published in 1995, and you see a real weird looking Zedd there on the cover. The cover is actually really indicative of what the art looks like inside, and I don't know if it's the same artist, but I would assume it is. The art is the most off-putting thing about this, I think. I like the coloring actually quite a bit. It's real bright and colorful, but the faces are very strange, and particularly Lord Zedd. He's just real blobby, real kind of amorphous. He looks like every panel, his face is like changing form, like morphing itself somehow. Like Lord Zedd picks up a morpher and says, it's morphin time. He doesn't morph into a ranger, he just slightly changes his face, almost like the artist is worried that Zedd's not expressive enough. And anyway, this is written by Jack Harris with art by Al Bigley, names that I don't recognize, I haven't seen with other things. But this is a really typical kind of Power Rangers episode. This feels actually very first season to me, even though it's Lord Zedd. So the basic story here, it's real simple. It's your standard Power Rangers formula, almost as if there was a Sentai episode that this was adapting, but obviously it's not. It's a comic book. But anyway, Kimberly is upset with her mom because her mom wants her to clean her room. Yeah, that's the kind of conflict, that's kind of personal, internal conflict that we can expect from a Power Rangers comic in the mid-90s. Boom, this is not. The personal stakes are not as heavy, and the characters don't have as much dimension. But one thing I do appreciate, there's a little bit more going on here than in an average Power Rangers episode, because at least Kimberly is having to deal with trying to balance her personal life with being a Power Ranger, and she's overextended, and that's why she can't clean her room. So she tells her mom, hey, it's not that important, it's not the end of the world. And what her mom doesn't know is she actually deals with the end of the world on a regular basis, and her mom doesn't get that the reason that she's her room is a pigsty and that she's very disorganized is because she's a Power Ranger and she has other things on her mind. Or is that just an excuse? Is she just kind of lazy? And the story suggests that there's a little bit of that going on, because ultimately she has to learn the kind of the big moral lesson at the end of this is she's got to learn to be more organized, or she can't even be a Power Ranger because she has lost her power coin. And she can't find it, and it turns out it's because it's in her very messy room, and at the end of this, we'll see where exactly she put it, and it's silly, and in a weird way, she kind of breaks Zordon's rules in what she does with her power coin. I'll go ahead and reveal it right now, actually. So you get to the end, and Alpha has to help her clean her room and look for her power coin. It's absurd, it's ridiculous, and it turns out that she used her power coin as a coaster, which, you know, really weird way is sort of using your powers, or I guess the thing that gives you your powers, for personal gain, right? Because as a coaster. And then hilariously, So I really wish that Zordon gave her a lecture about this, because I think that'd be really amusing. But that doesn't happen. Alpha does not notice it, because something about the metal in the soda can that's on top of the power coin deflects his sensors, and so he's not able to find it. And that kind of logic is all over Power Rangers, so it's wonderfully authentic to this show in that way. It's very strange. A place where it's less authentic is with the villains. So Lord Zedd does not have himself really the brilliant plan this time. It's more Finster, but it's still a real standard kind of Lord Zedd plot where, and I guess Rita did this kind of thing quite a bit also, where he looks down at the Earth, at whatever the Rangers are doing right now, and goes, I'm going to make a monster out of that. And they're at a landfill, or a landfill and a recycling center. There's also a kind of PSA here, like there is in a lot of early Power Rangers episodes, about the environment and about recycling, which was a real big deal and everywhere with kids stuff in the 90s, making sure that kids knew not to throw away everything, and that things could be reused, and that's better for the environment. It was kind of treated like a real novel, new concept in the early 90s, and I just remember it being in commercials and in things I was reading, and it was everywhere. Just make sure to recycle, kids. And so this has that message as well. And anyway, Zedd looks down at this recycling center and is trying to come up with a plan, and Finster says, hey, I know, let's make this like garbage monster. We'll make, and he calls it the Garbagantolis. It just rolls off the tongue, and Zedd can't say it either, which is kind of funny. And they're apparently having resource issues. Like, they don't have as much power as they usually do, and they keep talking about having limited resources, and Zedd's having a hard time coming up with a plan or a monster because they just don't have very much power right now, which never happens in Power Rangers, the early seasons anyway. You'll always wonder why Rita in the first season, for instance, can't just take the palace down to Earth every time like she does in Doomsday. Like, what's stopping her? She seems to have unlimited power. But Zedd apparently here does not have that. He's also missing his staff for some reason, and instead of using that in order to later on make his monster grow, usually he just puts his staff out and it shoots the beam out, but instead he's got like dark side like omega beams that shoot out of his, I don't remember this ever happening in the show, that shoot out of his eyes and make the monster grow. And when that, see, here it is, and when that happens, Finster says, no, we don't have enough power to do that. The monster is not going to be very effective giant, but Zedd's not listening to him, so he just does that anyway, and the Rangers fight this giant garbage monster, who's kind of a fun design. And it is kind of weird that the very next issue is like a swamp monster issue, so it seems a little bit too close to this, doing those right next to each other. We don't have Tommy here, by the way, and I'm not sure where he is, because this is, I guess I'm going to assume that, well, now I'm trying to remember my history here for a second, because I'm a little rusty. I guess, does Tommy get his White Ranger powers before or after the other, the three Rangers leave and get replaced, because the actors didn't get paid enough? I'm trying to remember, because if this is during the period where Tommy isn't a Ranger because his green powers have dried up, and he can't use them anymore because they were evil, and that was always the big drama with Tommy, then it makes sense that he's not here. But I thought he got the White Ranger powers after that, because what we've got here, it's weird. The first couple issues of Hamilton, because I went back and with the archives collection and saw just, you know, a few panels here and there, and it looks like Jason and Zach were still there, and Trini. But then here we've got the replacement Rangers. So we've got Rocky and Trini and Adam, who are all drawn like almost caricatures, like you'd get at a town fair or something, from like an artist sitting there drawing people. That's what these look like to me. So it does look like they're actually based on the actors in a way that they're not in the Boom comics, because we don't have. My assumption is the rights to the likenesses aren't really there, so you got to be careful not to make them look too much like the like the actors that portrayed them. So anyway, you don't have Tommy here. You have the replacement Rangers. But curiously, you have Finster making this monster when Finster didn't really work for Zedd that much. Because Zedd could just... It was inconsistent, like we always were with the villains and powers and everything during this period. But what Zedd would usually do, and sometimes we made a big deal out of he had to do it this way, but he didn't. Some episodes we did and some episodes we didn't. He had to take something that existed on the planet already, like it had to be I think it had to be either alive or just, I can't even remember now, organic maybe, I forget. There's like an episode or two that make a big deal out of that, and otherwise he could just always make monsters out of whatever he wanted to. Anyway, he could just shoot his staff down and do it himself, but here he's got Finster making stuff like he did for Rita, and again, he wasn't really, doing that very often after Rita left, until she came back, and then occasionally you'd get more Finster stuff. So it's kind of fun seeing him interacting primarily with Finster through this, because you just have Axelrod's voice in your head for both of these characters going back and forth. And again, sometimes in that show they would talk to each other, but it was kind of rare. Here it's like all we have is Zedd, no staff, Finster making monsters, and Goldar is nowhere to be seen. I don't know what's going on with him. And then Squat and Babu show up in like a couple of panels, and that's it. But Goldar is in earlier issues of this, so I don't know what's going on there. It almost reads as if episodes of this show aren't made yet, and they're going off of just prototype, like, drawings and like a series Bible or something maybe for Zedd. Like we just have concepts and we haven't made anything yet. But it can't be that, because the first couple issues, like I said, have the original Rangers in them, and Zedd is there too, and now we have the replacement Rangers, so they have to have shot stuff. So there's no way the guys working on this book haven't already seen episodes, I wouldn't think. Oh, and Bulk and Skull are here, as usual, just to be... just to not care about the environment and pay for that by falling into trash cans and having gum on their faces. Hilarious. And this face it creeps me out. Another thing that's kind of odd is at the beginning of this, Zedd, I think it's Finster and Squat and Babu maybe, they're working on something over Zedd's head, literally, and dropping trash on top of him. I guess that's foreshadowing, and or like just gears and bolts and metal and stuff. And Zedd's like, oh no, because it's like, because he thinks that someone's attacking him. He's like, oh no, are the Rangers attacking? And I'm like, the Rangers don't do that. You haven't provoked them. They don't escalate fights. Like, have you forgotten how the whole thing works? Kimberly does use her powers for her own personal gain in using her Ranger coin as a coaster, but beyond that, they don't break Zordon's rules. These are also pretty muscular-looking Rangers. So they fight the big garbage monster, and Kimberly can't come in right away because she can't find her coin. So then they have to just use their individual Zords until she finally finds it and shows up, and then they make the Thunder Megazord. One word, Thunder Megazord. I've never seen it written that way before. And then at the end, Kimberly makes up with her mom and is like, maybe I should clean my room. And then that's it. So, yeah, there's some amusing inconsistencies here with the show proper that I found kind of fun, but the art is just funky and really strange to look at. Yeah, I'm curious to look at more of this eventually with the Archives collection, and I'm really glad that Boom's reprinted that so that we can look at it now. Anyway, that's going to do it for me today. Thanks a lot for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again tomorrow with another one. I was Captain Logan, and happy reading.